And as I said, it's ironic that we're sitting here now, and I completely agree that we're sitting here now saying that the squad isn't good enough. But actually, for the last 3 transfer windows, that's all we've been buying. So I've been saying exactly what they were saying, that you go and you improve your 11. Once your 11 improve, that improves your squad. Therefore, you're in a better position. And if we would have been doing that for the last, and it's not necessarily about the amount of money spent, we could have, as Dan said, we could have spent that money elsewhere on experienced pros, and we wouldn't be in this sort of situation now. But someone did mention it, that getting players out the door has been just as big a problem. That's been a problem at Spurs for years, but that's a massive problem for us, isn't it?
We can't seem to get rid of no one at the moment, can we? But the other question is that I'll ask with that one, with what you're saying, that I did ask a few people. Everyone's saying Bissouma out, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. The only time we saw him play half decent was when he actually got played to his capability. He's not a defensive player, but his mentality, he's had 3 years. I get that he's got to go. The question I asked with him specifically is, can we actually afford to let Bissouma go? Because the problem is, we're playing in the Champions League against PSG, and we're in that position where Paulini or Bentancur is getting dry, basically. They need to come off. And we're bringing in Archie Gray, who touches the ball once in 20 minutes. Or would you rather bring on a Bissouma?
Well, I think that's the problem, is that, and I'm guilty of this. Archie Gray, for instance, players like that, I've been happy for them to come through the door, but expecting other players to come through too. Like, for instance, the Tell situation. I was never expecting Tell to be our starting left winger.
Can we afford to get rid of Davis, Luke? Can we even afford to let Davis go at the moment?
At the moment,
he shouldn't
absolutely
be
not.
Who can we actually afford to get rid of
Bissouma? Bissouma's not good enough. Bissouma's been out of club for 3 years, and he's been called out down by every single manager. Conte, and they've all called him out. He's now
okay.
Frank's had him for 6 weeks. He's called him out.
Who would you rather have on the pitch against PSG? Who would you
rather have? I'd rather have a player that's committed to the badge, not one that turns up to training late every other week, not one that's not serious.
I get all that, but on the pitch,
it's not about what you do on the pitch. We have to be honest.
Well, of course it is.
No, it is to some extent. But if you're turning up to training late, then it's not about what you do on the pitch. You
can't be a part of the club. But we can't
even be in that dressing room.
Archie Gray touched that ball once in 20 minutes. Once.
No, I get that, but let's have
George, you want a nice boy then? You want a nice player that's just a good two shoes, yeah?
No, I do.
That's what you want, yeah, bro?
I do
get both sides, by the way.
You want a good goody two shoes in the squad right now,
it's not about goody two. What? So you
sits there, does his homework, yeah, and then he does really badly, yeah. That's what we want, yeah.
This was the guy that got caught doing drugs. That's how right he was. He was doing drugs last year on live. Yeah, this is all over the net. He got caught and then he got banned. He got told by Conte, and out of all players, Conte picked him out to be the one that struggles tactically. He then gets a new manager where you get a new lease of life. And let's have it right. He actually performed in the final of the Europa League and the semi-final. So he could have, amongst a few Spurs fans, been given a chance under Frank. He turns up late to training, and Frank never said he'd done it once. He said he'd done it multiple times. So this is an attitude problem. He thinks he's bigger than the club, but he's never once performed for this club. So I wouldn't even have those players in and around the dressing room. That's a bad example to set to players like Archie Gray, who's now going to think, I don't need to perform and I'll still get game time. That's what you're letting the players think. You can't. I wouldn't even risk playing Bissouma.
I get where you're coming from with it, yeah. I do get the point of it, but I think you're looking at more what is, how should I put it? What is mentally right. You're looking at more what should be right and everything. And you're totally right in what you're saying. But at the end of the day, Archie Gray in midfield, when he has played centre mid, whether he's 18 or not, he's been a waste of space. At least Bissouma, and the other issue with Bissouma is the fact that every manager he's had has played him totally out of position. And what I mean by that is he's a box-to-box pressing player, yeah? Not a box-to-box defensive player. Watch where he made up to 80% of his mistakes, always in a defensive position, which he doesn't play. He sits just past the halfway line, box-to-box, gets it, presses forward, direct ball. No, every manager played in defensive. Now, his attitude stinks. I totally get that, yeah? Can Frank get something different out of it? Maybe. Time would tell. But we're in a position at the moment. I'm sorry. I will not change it. That I would be willing to get rid of a player who can handle being on the pitch against a big team instead of a player who shouldn't even be picked in the 25 for the Champions League or the Premier League. I'm thinking about winning, not what is morally correct. I think you're thinking too morally.
Don't you think that you're both right? This is the problem.
Yep.
Is that you're
there is two sides to it. I'm agreeing with his side as well.
Realistically, we were actually arguing over two players. Good for Tottenham Hotspur.
It's the position the club has put us in, basically.
We shouldn't be arguing over whether Bissouma should still be here or not. The fact is that he should have been gone, and we should be upgrading him, and that is the problem. That's exactly the problem.
It's true.
I think, Jordan, you're bang on. We've had Bissouma for so long now, and again, Dan, you are right as well. He's not being played in his exact position, but unfortunately, you've got to be versatile in terms of being able to adapt to different players, managers, tactics, etc. And it's not worked. It's not worked for so many managers.
Some players can, some players can't. Simple as that. Yeah. Some of the best players there's ever been have only been able to play their way.
Yeah.
Just because a player isn't, if you want to call it versatile, just because a player can't adapt to that, it doesn't mean he's not a great player. It's just it helps when you've got a player who can adapt to situations, and that it's very helpful. When it comes to Bissouma, I mean, you look at the Europa Cup games he played for us, and that he was one of the best players on the pitch. Why? Because he was allowed to press forward, not have to sit back and cover that bloody open role, basically, of a DM when he is not a defensive player in any means or manner, and he looks significantly a better player. But I agree with his attitude and everything and stuff like that. But again, who are honestly, if you are out there as a manager, your job is to win this game. Come love nor money, no matter what way you got to do it. Whether you got to do it nice, whether you got to do it ugly. I'm sorry, I am not bringing Archie Gray on that pitch over Bissouma. Not in a million years.
Are we not putting Frank in a difficult position where, regardless whether it's Gray or whether it's Bissouma, he's bringing on players that shouldn't be at this level?
The thing is, though, Frank has a zero dickhead policy, and that's well known, and he's not going to tolerate Bissouma's behaviour and around the place. And look, I do get what Dan is saying, but realistically, Bissouma isn't good enough to give a free license role to in the midfield. He's just not that level of midfield. He's not that sort of game changer. And, you know, people overlook a lot of his mistakes. You know, you go back to the Chelsea game last year when we were 2-0 up. It was him that gave away a ball that led to the collapse. And I think he also gave away a penalty. You know, against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup second leg, it was 0-0. It was him that didn't complete a 10-yard pass to Papa Matsar, gave away the ball. It was turned over. It was in the back of our net. I think he also gave one away in the North London Derby that got turned over and back in our net as well. So he, in a lot of the big games, he proven he was not dependable. You know, you cannot depend on this guy. I take Dan's point. Archie Gray isn't good enough in the midfield either. You know, people can sit there and make all the excuses you want. Bergvall had a bigger jump up and a bigger leap to make from where he came from Sweden, second division, into the Premier League. And he's shown much more improvement than what Archie Gray has. And I agree with Dan. The reality is both isn't good enough. But if you're Thomas Frank right now and you operate off a zero dickhead policy, because you've got to remember, in order for Thomas Frank's systems to work, you've got to have complete buy-in. That's why his systems work. You've got to have complete buy-in by everybody. With Bissouma, he's not going to buy into it. He's not going to sit, you know, he's out there. He wants to go out there and have a good time. He wants to be on balloons, everything else. He gave us an apology after the Chelsea game and doubled down Europa League against Rangers and had an absolute shocker. The guy, you cannot depend on him, but you also can't depend on Archie Gray. But I suppose if you're Thomas Frank, you're probably going to look at Archie Gray and go, well, I'd rather take the risk and try and develop him into what I need and maybe get him to learn off someone like Paulinho than trying to get through to Bissouma, because he's at the age where you're not going to get through to the guy.
And also, if you are Thomas Frank, if people don't know, Archie Gray was completing his move to Brentford before we hijacked it. Thomas Frank quite clearly rates Archie Gray, because Archie Gray was not going to Brentford to play right back or play centre back or play left back. He was going there to play centre mid, and he would have fit into the systems. I think Archie Gray, I think a lot of the stuff people have gone is so early to say regarding his qualities in midfield.